Video. Hi, in this video I'll be showing you how to implement inheritance. Okay, so we are building a top-down hierarchy between a person class and a student class. As part of your assignment, you have to implement the faculty class. Okay, so let's go and create a student.cs file. That's it. So we will not write any code yet, so let's just say let's build the person class a little bit more before we add to student. Okay, we'll leave it there. So the person class right now only has the intro method. Let's add one more method. Maybe let's write a method here called as birthday. Let's check like if this, there should be a function to check if this is a person's birthday or not. So it's a bool return. It'll say true or false. Is today your birthday? Is birthday true or false? Okay. So let's see, where is our birthday? Date of birth. Date of birth is of type date time. So if date time dot today dot month equal to date of birth dot month, so it's the same month. Is it your birth month, right? So that is what we know. So you take date time dot today will give you today's date, and then the dot month will give you the current month. If that is the same as the date of birth's month, right? So if you're born in March and this is March, this is your birth month. And if the days are the same, the dates are the same, and date time dot today, that is today's date, right? Dot today dot day is equal to date of birth dot day. If they both match, then today will be your birthday. Return true. Else return false. Okay, so you can return or you can just make this a void method. So it will just say, maybe we don't need any method to return any value. We can say it's your birthday. Else it can say we could do this way also. It doesn't matter. So we are just writing a method to show you how you can test this with the student class. So this is a simple public void method that is inside the person class. Okay. First, let's test it and then we'll implement the student class. So p1 dot is birthday. Okay, before this we have to set the date of birth. So p1 dot date of birth equal to. So we are used to always saying data directly like this, right? 3/19/1994 or something like that. This is string. We can do it for date of birth. So we have to convert this to date time. Convert dot to date time. And then you can give a year like that. Okay, let's make this 7. So 7, depending on when you're running. So if you're running it on the 12th, oh boy, my cursor has a mind of its own. Okay, 7/12/1994. And today is the 12th when I'm running this code. Then that is my birthday, right? So first set the date before you run this method to avoid any errors. So it is saying, hey, it's your birthday today. Okay. So if I make it 7/13, it says today is not your birthday. So because I call the method. So we have created a person class. It has two methods, intro and birthday. Okay. It has no validations, but the address contained object has validations and that's about it. So let's create a student class. So in the student class, we are going to get everything that we need. Okay. Just by saying this. Okay. Class student is inheriting from the person class. Okay. So what happens now? So we will be getting all of the properties that belongs to the person. So if we, let me see if my whiteboard is open. I don't know what happened to this guy today. I think it crashed or something. So if I remember, we had student ID. Okay, public string school. If these are some of the information that we want for our student, these are all we are implementing them as auto-implemented properties. So now we have to do the constructor. So when you do the constructor, so you would say public student, right? So this is how normally we would say public student. But think about it. So in the person class, we have a constructor. We want to call this constructor every time a student is initialized. First, all of the inherited properties should happen. Whatever happens in the constructor of the base class should be called first before we add another layer on top. So we build a foundation, which is the person, and then we add on top for the student stuff. So for that, what we say here, we go to the student class, just like how we inherited here. Here we will say inherit, call the base first. Okay, now see, let's see what happens. I'm going to like do a little test to show you how things happen. Okay, and then we'll go and write one in the person constructor. Okay, so first this is address, this is so we tested the address, we tested the person, right? So let's just comment these for the time being, so we don't have too much output. Okay, so let's just go and create a student. Student S1 equal to new student S1 dot first name equal to John, S1 dot last name equal to Smith, S1 dot date of birth equal to convert dot to date time. So date of birth is going to be 1/1/1989 or something like that. So let's see what else the student class has. Person class has first name, last name, date of birth, permanent address, right? So we'll leave that alone for now. So let's just set these few things. Okay, and then let us say S1 dot intro. So here is the problem, or rather the coolness of this whole thing. There is no method called intro, right? There is no method called intro inside the student class, but it will still work. So let's do one thing. Let's just define the constructor. Let me comment these. So let's go one by one. I'm just getting ahead of myself. So let's just go and declare a student. Let's see how the constructors work. Yeah, that's okay. So person constructor first get called, and then the student constructor got called. So when I just wrote this line, I am calling the student constructor, but inside the student constructor, I said call the base first. This notation means call the base first, Base is a standard name. You don't change it. This is not like, what class you're doing. This is just how you call the base class. Base class is the class you are inheriting from. So the person is the base class here. So that is what you're doing here. So when you call the student constructor, the base gets called and then you come to the student constructor. Okay, you go to student, look at this base, go to base, come back, and then write this line. That's why you get the person constructor first and then the student constructor. Everything you need to create a base is done, and then you can add on top. Okay. For example, here you can come and say academic standing. Maybe for all students, we'll start off saying they have good academic standing. Okay. Okay, good. So that's the first one. So we don't have first name, last name, date of birth inside the student class. There is no first name, last name, date of birth. But because the person class has them, you will automatically be able to assign those values. See here, this is student. If you remember, this S1 is a student, not a person. You can still do all of this and do the intro method. See, hello, my name is John Smith. That's the intro method. So it knows for the student, the name is John Smith. And then the address, we didn't set anything for the address. So if we want to set something for the address, okay, I'm going to update data because I'm using John Smith way too much. Let's call it Kara. Okay, address, we don't want it to be Main Street. We just can give it as something else. So we can see the difference. So this is a student information. Yeah, Kara is a student. So now let's run this. All of these objects should be S1. If you put P1, then you'll get wrong results. So make sure that you have the right information. So we gave only one address line. So that's why the second line is blank. Then city, state, zip code. And then this person's name is Kara Kaser. So here's the cool part of all of this. I didn't write any code to make this happen inside the student class, but I'm getting all of it to work automatically. Okay, so that is the advantage of using the inheritance. Okay, now let's go and add some more stuff. So what if there is something, for example, here intro, we have intro and we have birthday. So we can even call the birthday and check here. So is it today is not your birthday? Okay. So so this is a generic message, right? And then it applies to anyone because birthday is common. So any person, same logic, nothing changes. So that's all perfect. So what if on top of all of this, we want to like determine if a person is of good academic standing or not based upon their GPA. So let us say this is very specific to student. It has nothing to do with a person. So inside the student class, we are going to go and write a method called like that. So this should be based on GPA. If your GPA is below 2.0, we can say bad standing. Otherwise, we can say good standing. Something like that. So if GPA greater than or equal to 2.25, let's say, academic standing equal to good, else simple things, right? So we could do this, and this is a method that a person class will never have. Only a student class has. So now let's go here and let's test that. So I'm going to open up this guy also, so that you can see what is available for a person and what's available for a student. Right? So we have person, we have student, both. So for a person, for a student, if I go and say S1 dot, and then what was it? Set academic standing based upon GPA, right? So I have to set the GPA. S1 dot GPA equal to 2.1. Okay. So now, and then I'm going to do console dot write line S1 dot academic standing. I'm going to write that. So let's test that. So first we are getting information for the person class. Okay. Then we are getting into the student class. Here we have the person constructor first, student constructor next, and then we have the intro method. It's not your birthday. And then we call the method that says because of our GPA, academic standing is not good. So it's nice to like write headings like this so we know who we are testing. So we saw that the student class can have its own methods. It doesn't have to just be stuck with the methods of the parent, right? Which is the person class. So you don't need to be only stuck with those methods. You can have your own methods. Okay. So when I do this, for academic standing works for student. Let's try it for person. So the idea is that it won't work because the person class does not care or have access to anything inside the student class. We will get error. See, what does it say? The person does not contain a definition for said academic standing and no method is available. What does that mean? That means the person class does not know anything about what is inside the student class. But the student class knows everything inside the person class. Okay, it's like one-way relationship. Okay, student gets everything there. Any change you make to the person, the student will get. See, right now, for example, if I go to the person class and then I change it here, I put an asterisk or something like that. Okay, I only change the person class, but automatically when I run the code, the student class, see, also got it. Person got it, student got it. So far what we have seen is we created a person class. Okay, I didn't even talk about it. I don't know when I wrote this. I think I copied this. So let's forget it. So let's just leave it like this. Okay. So that virtual keyword, I was just going to talk about it and because I copied, I think it automatically came. So, I mean, let us say like this one always says, hello, my name is, and then it shows the address. But let us say for a student, that is not the intro you want to give. You want to say, yeah, you are a student of this college, your first name, last name, and then, maybe you don't care to like show your address. Okay. So you want your intro method to be different than the base class intro method. So this guy's method, you are not too happy. You don't want that. You want your own method. Okay. So in that situation, what happens is the purpose of the method is the same. You want to introduce yourself. So what you can do is we can ask the base class to be changed so that we can override some of the methods. Okay. Okay, this is one disadvantage of Repl. It's just now saying fail to connect, retrying. So just let's give it a second. Awesome. So what I'm saying here is the person class has the void method, intro method. The purpose of the intro method, when you say person.intro, student.intro, faculty.intro, employee.intro, because they are all from the person class, we want them to do something similar. We want them to give an introduction about themselves. Okay. How they do it, what information they include could be up to that particular class. So if you're a person, this is the introduction, right? But what if the the student can use it the way it is, or they may want to change it. What if they want to change it? In order for them to be able to change it, this base class has to say virtual. Okay, when you say in the base class that a method is virtual, that method can be overridden by the child class. Okay, so this came as a freebie because I copied the code from my other class. I'm sorry about that. Without this keyword, you will be able to use it. Your student can use the intro without writing a single line of code as it is. But if in case the student class wants to change the behavior of a method, you would like to say virtual. Okay. So when you say virtual void intro, in here, because you want to override that method, you would use the override keyword. Okay. Let's test this now. Instead of getting all of this cool fancy stuff, we are only getting this one line because we've decided to override our intro method with our own code. Well, this is one way where you can completely wipe out. So we are like ignoring whatever the base class is doing and doing our own thing. So that is one way. The second way is, instead of that, we could also call the base and add on top of it. So not only did you get all this intro, and then you got your own intro also. So you could say something here like, I'm a student in studying in, and then you could put the school name here. Let's see that. Yeah, studying in, school name. Okay. So what we can do is, let's give a school name here and then we can see that. So let's say this girl goes to Cleveland State. So not only do we get this intro, hello, my name is Kara Kaser, here's the address, and then you get this message saying, I'm a student studying in Cleveland State. Okay, so how did we do it? So the 3 steps are, first, the base class has to let you override. And it can do that by putting this virtual, making this method virtual. So this keyword, after you say it's public, then you put that, then you put void and intro and all that. So the keyword virtual will be required by the base class so that all the children can override that method. So how can you override? Either if you don't say the base.intro, if you don't say this, you would completely ignore the base class and just do your own thing. But if you want the best of both worlds, you can just say call the base.intro first and then do this guy. But in order for you to be able to override a method, you need this override keyword. So let's see what happens if we don't give that. Okay, where are we? Well, Reppl's mono C# seems to be okay with not giving that. But normally, you have to say it's override, especially like if you're using Visual Studio, you have to give the override keyword. So let's say for now, use the override keyword. And then if you say base.intro, you call the base method, then whatever you write, that code will get called. Okay. So see all of this. This is what you're getting for a student. And this is the intro you're getting for a regular person. See, you're creating variations there. Okay, so we saw how to inherit. We saw how to call a constructor, base constructor. I don't know how I missed this warning message, which is really good. Like I was just saying, the override keyword is really important. See how we get a warning here. So if you were to try this in C sharp, if you don't have an override keyword, you would get an error message. Here in this mono C sharp compiler, you're getting a warning saying, hey, you have to use the override keyword. So it's a little more softer and subtle. So that's why we have to have the override keyword. Okay. So we saw this one constructor, right? What if you have like two constructors? So what if we have a constructor that takes parameters, two parameters, string first name, string last name. This is the base person class. Okay. So when this is one default constructor, this is the second constructor. So, and then this would look like first name equal to f name, last name equal to L name. Okay, in this case, how do we write the student constructor? If there is a student that comes in with these two parameters, what do we do? Okay, it will be similar to this, except you'll be getting string f name, string L name. Okay, so whatever you are getting here, you don't go and write code here because these belong to the base class. First name and last name belong to the base class. So you have to send it to the base class like that. And then it will do its job. Okay, so let's do another student. So this is Kara. She's a no parameter constructor. So we'll call this student 1. Let's test student 2. Okay, so this person, we are not giving this information. We are giving it inside the constructor. Andrew. Okay, and we want to see how it behaves. So let's make this guy have a better GPA. Okay, and then let's make this Ohio State. So we can see some difference. Okay, so the difference between these two students is here I am using the 0 parameter constructor. Here I am using the 2 parameter constructor. Okay, we want to reuse. So if there are two constructors in the base class like this, you just have to like call their method and then add anything on top. See here, first name and last name. If you have a 2 parameter constructor and then you're calling the base with that. So here I'm not saying string f name because I am reusing this and sending it to the base. Sending this to the base. Now let's see how that looks. Oh, S1. Yeah. Lazy solutions give you more problems. S2. So my laziness caused this problem. 2, 2. Sometimes we'll be wondering why our code works weird. That's because of this. Using the wrong object is not going to help us. Okay. So that's the person. That's my student 1. Everything normal, right? And then I'm testing student 2. Again, see, I'm calling the correct constructors and then the name got assigned. That's how you test it. See, we sent the name to student constructor and then passed it to the base constructor. If we didn't do it correctly, this wouldn't happen. So this is your test. People wonder like what they are testing for. When you are like calling a student with these parameters, you know that your code is working and you're passing it correctly because this student name gets assigned correctly. Okay. So the concept we saw how to derive a student from person. We saw how to call the base constructor with no parameters and base constructor with some parameters. I'm not going to go really deep into it. It gets confusing for you. Then I showed you how to call one of the base methods. So for example, is birthday method, we didn't override. We are just reusing it directly. For that, you don't have to define it here. You directly call it. But intro, we are overriding. So we saw that the person class has to have a virtual keyword for that. And then the student class has to have an override keyword. Not only that, we also have to make sure that we call the base.intro. And then what else did we see? So this is inheritance in a nutshell. Okay. So this is where we are using all of the functionality of the person and this address, right? Because address is inside the person object. We are able to reuse all of those methods and get all those validations free. So as your homework, you actually have to create a faculty class, derive it from person, and probably have to construct 1 or 2 constructors and override a method and write your own method and so on and so forth. Okay. And whenever you do it, make sure that you are having like nice code here like this that tells you what you're doing with a set of data. So test case 1, test case 2, test case 3. Okay, you can find this code in week 6 demo. This will be for both the address and person and student. So for all the videos, this is the code. So go and take a look and be careful how you use the objects. Use the right object so you don't get all confused. Hope you find this video helpful. Thanks and have a great day.